First of all, thank you very much for inviting me from CRES to be the moderator for this session. And honestly, I think I'm nowhere the caliber of the people that are going to be part of the panelists. They are very esteemed panelists that we have today to talk about how do you build the ecosystem here in ASEAN. I think anchoring with what Iskandar Investment has put together with the DRZ, Iskandar kind of ecosystem, and also site for collaboration and so testing the solution in drones and robotics. So without further ado, maybe I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists. We have three panelists coming from very excellent organization all around. So first I would like to introduce Mr. Yong Chung Soon or Chung Soon. He's a co-founder and president of My AIRA. So welcome on board, Chung Soon.
Thank you for having us.
Here. So his association is basically to mobilize the businesses, policymakers, academia, industries, inventors, and players, for all related industries to collaborate and create ecosystem offering affordable solutions. Very much aligned to what CRES is doing. Chung Soon, very good. And he's currently heading two startups in Malaysia. One is the Avant-Garde, Center of Excellence in Emirat, focusing on Industry 4 and AI solution. Very good. And also UU Robot Asia in Emirat. I hope I pronounced it right. So
Yep, it is.
A joint venture with Canbot as a regional hub for their series of service robot. He also brings him invaluable marketing and management experience, and has a rich international network. So welcome on board, Joseph. Thank you. Second, we would like to bring forward to this panel also Datuk Sri Ganesh Palaniappan, a very prominent person who drive a lot of IoT activity in Malaysia. He's a group CEO of SG Academy and vice chairman of Malaysian IoT Association. In short, they call it My IoTA, right? So My IOTA. So I'm like a bit Greek, kind of a alphabet here, IOTA. So My IoTA, largest conglomerate association for industry players and stakeholders of the IoT technology in Malaysia. And as I understand, we have a very large group of developer, technologists, and researchers working on IoT in Malaysia. So we need to see put all this together. And thank you to Dr. Sri Ganesh for doing that. He's also the elected vice president of the International Vocational Education and Training Association, IVITA, overseeing the region of South Asia. And also he has a notable contribution all over the nation in respect of disruptive technologies for and education and also training industry. So Dr. Sri Ganesh is now appointed as director of Penang STEM, which is under the purview of Penang State Government. Welcome on board, Dr. Sri Ganesh.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, sir. Right.
Thank you. Great. Our third panelist is none other than Mr. Effendi Zulkifli. He is an EXCO and founding member of Malaysian Industry Forward Association called MIFA. I think the Malaysian policy was called Industry Forward, WRD, right? So this is a good to have an association along the team of Industry Forward. He founded Blockwood, I think in the area of blockchain, Blockwood in Emirat, and also Blockchain Research Center Malaysia. So he's very much a blockchain guy. So anybody looking for a blockchain guy, he's the guy to talk to, right? Mr. Effendi. He built a more professional, educated people in the blockchain and IR 4.0 ecosystem. He's also the co-founder of Crypto Valley, Malaysia, that registered under Register of Societies, Malaysia, established in 2018 as the Technology Chamber of Commerce with blockchain technology and emerging technologies as the enabler for Industry 4. He was appointed in December 2020 as Director of Malaysia Industry Forward Association, MIFA, that focused on advocating and shaping guidelines for Industry 4 and IR 4.0, best practices and technology standards in Malaysia. Now he's actively promoting the value of IR 4.0, blockchain and emerging tech that involve development of halal blockchain and food supply, very good, decentralized mobile wallet, and blockchain as a service basis, BaaS, first time I heard that, to be honest with you, industrial IoT and emerging technologies for academic and industry. So very, very outstanding and kind of excellent group of panelists. maybe I don't have to say much. We'll let these guys take the floor. But since I'm the moderator, I'll do the moderation so that we don't go overboard over time, right? Maybe to get things started first, I'd like to bring into the recent launch of 4IR roadmap, 4 Industrial Revolution roadmap and framework that was launched, by the government recently. And based on research done by International Federation of Robotics, our robotic density, per 10,000 employees is only about 55 units, versus our neighbor, which is, where we are here in Johor, only like half an hour through the driving or train without the so-called traffic, is like 20 times what we have, which is about almost to 1,000 units per 10,000 employees. So we are number 14, on the list of the Automation Readiness Index, and Singapore is number 3 in the world, right? And we just across, what separated is just a causeway. So, maybe we'll get each of the panel to give their input. How can both the government and the private sector play their roles to increase the adoption of robotic applications in Malaysia, industrial sector, maybe also non-industrial sector, other socio-economic sectors. So maybe somebody, will pick, on Chung Soon to give his view first, and then we pass it around to the other two panelists.
I'll probably take up the other two gentlemen's time. No, jokes aside, I was listening to the two gentlemen earlier, Dr. Yong and Dr. Hanafi. I mean, they said a lot about, what the government can do and what we can do. From my observation, you mentioned Singapore, about 20 times more robots used than Malaysia. Looking up north, twice the number of Malaysia. I think they have about 110 robots per 10,000 people. So the way I look at it is slightly probably different view from where the government looks at. From Dr. Hanafia's point of view and also from Dr. Yong's point of view. To start and develop something, a robot from Malaysia, of course it's good and it's excellent effort, and two of many Malaysians succeeded. But where I come from, I see the word collaboration that should be used in this world. Meaning that, for example, my personal company, we brought in CanBot, mainly because they're one of the top 10 in China, and the hardware is cheap. Now, why don't we not reinvent the wheel, bring the hardware from a cheap source, and develop the various applications in Malaysia? That's why I thought, DRZ has done an excellent job. We can probably use that as one of the two models. Of course, R&D built in Malaysia is excellent. The other part of it, don't reinvent the part where other countries can produce it really cheap. Now, in terms of the other aspect, why it's not so well received or adopted, the two earlier speakers spoke about it. 1 to 4 years ROI. To most businessmen, this doesn't work. So my second thought is that most Malaysian industrial, or rather most manufacturers in Malaysia, not even IR 3.0 yet. So why jump the 3.0 and head straight to 4.0 in terms of incentive? I think the government should consider doing something along the line of giving a lifeline to those to go into 3.0, and automatically or naturally, they will then go into IR 4.0 or 5. I think I better stop here.
So perhaps we can hear the view from from the IoT perspective, as opposed to.
Just one other point. In 2019, according to the Malaysian Employers Federation, 34 billion ringgit is actually repatriated every year by foreign laborers. If we could have saved that and put it into robotics, I think there's a lot more we could benefit from. Sorry, Dr. Sri.
Yeah, thank you. Again, honor to be here. Okay, my view would be this. Simply, I would look at it like, see, the immense pressure on the Malaysian market in the long run, and Malaysian companies will face tough competition from countries such as China, Philippines, and Vietnam, right? They have already moving from on a fast pace, overpassing our technology development and so forth. But there's a thin line between the consuming of technology and innovation, right? If you notice, way back in the 90s, when we brought in the IT culture into Malaysia, where the IT technology takes place, where MDEC was there and so forth, right? We were mostly consuming technology rather than being innovators and developers, right? Look at India today and look at China, right? They were not consumers, they were developers and innovators. So whatever indicators or whatever percentage that we put in place, but if we are not setting a bar in terms of like midterm challenges that we have right now, the country might face is there will be a increased pressure from regional markets, right? Whereby the regional markets already setting their bar very high with the creation of new products and enhanced production processes, right? So when we have across the region, people are setting high bars and we have indicators to compare. We are not comparing apple to apple, right? This is where we should take a very clear path on which part of the ecosystem that we want to be. Either we can be the pool where we develop talent for the borderless employment, or we can be the technology exporters. One example would be Taiwan. Taiwan never worried about anything that happened within the region because they had their part set in terms of research and development. Today, many of the innovation comes from Taiwan as well. So if many of you all have been to Taiwan, if you have gone to Taiwan, you can see that they have big buildings which are, they have compartments of cabins and so forth. They all are busy building new technology and innovation, which can be supported throughout the world. Same goes to, if you go to Ireland, right? They are busy building e-commerce technology for throughout the world. They can be somewhere around towards the east or west, but they have taken a clear path in supporting the region. So we have to take a clear path as well. So when it comes to Ford or IR or what, instead of comparing with our neighbors, because our neighbors already set the benchmark in their niche, we should take part in which to complement them, so we can compete accordingly and we can take a clear path in what we want to achieve. That is my humble 2-cent opinion. Right.
I also would like to respond. Thank you to the organizer, and I feel so humble with all the panelists, more senior than me. A little bit on my perspective. Anything on adoption, we need to understand that adoption will be the last phase in terms of the tech involvement in any community or in a country. Another 3 phases that I think we need to focus, and we are doing very good, I think, right now. The first phase actually is awareness, right? Like we are doing right now. Awareness is very important from any single, education, platform or society platform. And then then after the phase of awareness, we need to understand that whether anything on technology and enforcement enhancement must be affordable. We need to understand that affordable, whether you want to bring the experts, the talents, in fact the technology. Then comes to acceptance, right? After acceptance, then the last phase is adoption. So comparing to other countries, one more thing, I would like to raise the issues of the R&D budget, because we are talking about the framework of the government. Basically, when we talk about 4IR, government just nice this year, right, officially announced on the 4IR framework, where the 10 focus sectors, education is one of the 10 focus sectors. So education is very important. How you want to define the 4IR, because a lot of a school of thoughts on 4IR, right? How about the readiness? Mr. Chong, Sun Yung mentioned about the readiness. So what is actually the really readiness? So when we talk about use cases, where actually the use cases about iPhone 0? What we studied, that when we talk about educations on the 4IR, we cannot show really which factory that really use 4IR in terms of adoption. So we need to have more use cases. Yes, of course, we have some factories, right? So it's very important. R&D, we can see countries like the top 5 countries such as USA, they spend 600 billion USD every year for R&D funding. Countries like China as well, 500 billion USD. So how about Malaysia? Do we put some R&D funding properly? Because I just got this information. In order, the criteria of the developed countries, we need to understand that R&D is very important for the criteria to ensure that the country is developed or not. So R&D is very important. So this is the thing that I think we need to focus on the R&D area, the use cases that we need to expose. And again, like Dr. Sriganesh mentioned that, I agree on something on the producer nation. So when it comes to solution making, when it comes to our the real project, we need to show that we need to give belief or trust to our own local developer. And I would like to touch this issue also, because MIFA basically we can say that most of the board of directors, most of the founders are young generation like me. The oldest is me, 40 years old. The rest of the board of directors, of the founder members, below is at 35, 40 below, right? Basically, what we want to see, this young generation, they don't want to see so much on conventional way how to enforce the tech. We don't want to follow step 1, step 2, step 3. We want to have an agile in terms of we call not disruption, but on the adoption. So we cannot wait anymore that kind of the process. If we can do some leapfrog, maybe we need to do something on leapfrog, because we cannot wait. Other countries like Singapore, like Australia, is going ahead than us. This is my humble view on the agile and step ahead, and not following so much conventional way to do some adoption. Thank you.
So thank you, Effendi. I think we have very clear in terms of views, and a bit different from each of the 3 panelists. One talking in terms of let's focus on building application first. Right? I think in terms of what Choso was talking about, let's focus on application. Don't reinvent the wheel. Try to build your own base robot. Don't do that. Take what's already existed and see how you can build application. You see the case, a few cases there earlier, and you get a view from Dr. Srigan in terms of we need to really clearly set the direction. We want to be the developer of the technology and become the exporter, which is can we? I think we can. I mean, we have the ability to do so, but we probably need one key component there, which is the talent on the soft aspect of developing the technology. And I think talking from listen to what Effendi is saying, we need that R&D funding to create this new so-called solution, new technology that's not available. But I think all 3 are somehow interrelated. But we need to figure out which one we go we'll go first. We start first by building using somebody else's technology first, and become the use the word copy exact first, and then build things on top of it, right? I think that could be the right model to go forward. It make us go faster than what we need to be. But I understand also when you're building this robot to make them to be able to do things based on your program task, or make it autonomous. There's a specific skills that require there, right? Dr. Sriganesh probably can already notice it. Yeah, we need that special skills that all this talent need to be trained on. I think when you're trying to build robots to do as good or better than what human can do, we need to ensure that they have the right skills, right? They have the right kind of knowledge of programming. I mean, don't talk about even designing the robot yet. Programming the robot to do what the human have been doing. So we go into the second part of the question in terms of talent is always a problem, right? There's a challenge in a lot of companies. So I came from Motorola, even though I hate the engineering, team in Motorola, we always talk about, do we have enough talent? Do we have enough people to build new product? Next year, next month, next quarter, we're building new solution. Do we have enough people who can actually do the programming, right? That was like 5-10 years ago, where we create more of a software-defined product, and even more so when you do automation and robotics, the knowledge of programming is very important. And I think a lot of people are saying that we don't really have many people who can actually do the deep programming, for this kind of robot. So for this part of the discussion, we have many colleges. We have 87 vocational colleges. 357 schools, with the upper secondary vocational, more than 20 public universities, 47 private universities. How can we align all this, secondary, tertiary institution, we call them, right, to actually support what we're trying to achieve, to make Malaysia the key player in automation and robotics, if not in the global scene, at least in the ASEAN, right? So we got 600 million of population in ASEAN. How can we be that, that kind of country? How do we do this alignment? And what can we do, more to get all this, it's like, herding the sheep, right? So how do we do that? So maybe I'd like to pick on Dato' Sri Ganesh first, because he's been focusing on talent side, right? So let's hear his view first. Yeah.
So this is, thank you, Doctor. It is a pretty interesting topic when it comes to talent. So if you don't mind, I got one slide to share, which I have actually prepared in the morning. If you can give me the permission to share. Sekejap, yeah? Right. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is the interesting part. Okay. Now, let's come to reality first in Malaysia, right? What's happening, right? Now, in Malaysia, we go on tiers. I would say the green one is the first tier, the bottom tier, and then we go for the second tier, and then the third tier, right? These are the actual working tiers in Malaysia when it comes to technology-based industry, right? Now, the lowest tier, if you can see, is the skilled workers, right? This has been the biggest increase in the workforce, as this is the biggest layer down there. Is a foundation where the SKM leavers, Sijil Kemahiran Malaysia leavers, people from community college and all that, they come into the entry-level skills here. Then we move forward to system integrators and managers. These require industry skills. These require product-centric skills. I mean, not only the skills from institution, they need to have product-centric. Then we move towards become engineers and leaders. Right now, what's happening in the society right now is that when we have graduates from the university, they don't go down at this layer, the skilled workers layers. They don't want to go there. Right? They'll never want to go there. I'm talking about public university, local university. They don't never want to go to the lowest foundation of entry-level skill. They want to be system integrators level or managers. Right? So when they go to that level, what will happen is that they lack of skill to actually to perform at that level. The reason being our education system is such, because after someone graduates from the university, what we do is that we spend so much of money upskilling him so that he'll be relevant to the industry. My concern is that the logic here is that you can do the same while they're in the university itself, all right? Which the skilled workers element should be integrated in the university itself. So when they come in, they don't, as you know, the reality, the graduates don't prefer the bottom layer of the tier, right? So they want to move forward, but they are not eligible to go there, right? And they become adamant they want to stick to there. When they go there, they cannot perform. Government spends so much of money in reskilling and upskilling. Then we talk about the engineers and leaders. They are already there, right? That you cannot expect a graduate straight away go and become an engineer and leader there to perform, right? So I would suggest that the government should move forward in terms of strategy, should be from the top to down approach as well. All right. Now, existing graduates, get them to create big, fast results. Right. Don't embark on another 1 or 2 years program for the graduates saying that, okay, they need to go and do this program, a generalized program. No. Pick an industry, say the components needed to be in the industry. For instance, the convergence of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, right? Put it together, make it AIoT. This is what I'm advocating for now. Both of these can be creating big, fast results to the industry. Pick the industry that currently, which is in demand, create programs for that industry in terms of apprenticeship-based program, bring them into the system integrators and managers mode, all right, and get them done. As for the engineers and leaders, they can have the top to down approach where you can put the essential skills into them. Whereas the skilled workers at the bottom level, they should be given the opportunity to grow up too. Many of the SKM leavers and DKM leaders were never given the opportunity to become the managers. I don't blame the industry for it. I don't blame the industry for it. I blame the articulation of the program itself when it comes to skill, the way the perception of the skill itself, how they're looking at it. You know, they should take the Singapore as a model. If you have been to ITE in Singapore, it's totally a technical school, but very much into a skill-based school. But it has been well articulated towards entering into industry, has become a manager on a TVET pathway as well, right? So and as I mentioned earlier, even the bottom level, the first tier I was talking about, the green tier, they can be also been upskilled to the next level of managers and so forth, which is they need to revamp the syllabus in the skills institution as well. Like our learned gentleman earlier, and when I got the question, they say that this number of skill schools are in the society right now. Dr. Noazmi, he was also mentioning on that. But let me reiterate this. That is just a small number that you are actually portraying. The big numbers are there. Do you know that in Malaysia, since year 2000, we have more than 1 million skilled graduate from institutions. What are they doing right now? Right. So we have enough talent. It's a matter of how we're going to articulate this talent towards the industry right now. All right. We have been taking very ad hoc approach. Whenever there's graduates, not even, I'm not talking about only during pandemic. Even before pandemic, the unemployment rate of the graduates was totally high, right? Because you cannot blame the graduates as well. We have to make sure that we create these results in the university without having to tax the government so much. Whenever there is the university graduates out there, we want to create a talent of pool, and we are creating the pool talents based on ad hoc requirements. I would say that now is the time to reform in terms of the skill articulation in the industry today. A lot of opportunities out there. I personally get a lot of requirement from the industry, all right, to articulate them. But I was wondering why we need to tap the government fund to actually to upskill these people. The industry need them, right?
I like that thought, Dr. Sri. So maybe I kind of gonna take this question and bounce it back to Chung Soon. So you mentioned just in terms of the best way to get going is to get people to do more of the application side. This is where the challenges or requirement that you mentioned, Dr. Sri, in terms of challenges or opportunity that industry has. And if we can build a program that actually industry have the challenges, the opportunity, and the requirement to do this, so-called the automation or the skilling of this, so-called skill level, right? Perhaps the approach could be in the initial idea that Chung Soon was talking about. Let's figure out, do a program that actually make them apply what they know already, and then maybe add more some little bit of a additional knowledge for them to be better than what they already are. So maybe Chung Soon want to elaborate.
Yeah, in fact, I started Avant-Garde Center of Excellence mainly to bring in the German education system into Malaysia. What Dr. Sri was mentioning is actually that model, apprenticeship or applied sciences, where you actually learn what the industry needs as you go along. Talking to some universities here, I decided that I'm probably wasting a bit of my time. That's why I went into other areas. Now, the good news is recently I was invited by International Medical University to a stakeholders meeting in my own personal capacity with my other company, that's AG Innovative Medical Solutions on medical technology. So what's good is that they have, over the past, I think this is the third session, they've invited industrial partners to give input as to what the industry needs or needed in the past, and they couldn't find the talents, what's needed now, and what we see the future requirements are. So I think that is an excellent example. So when we went through the various courses, we give feedback, and they have taken note, and this is what they would do. They would tune their courses, of course, not to the whole course, but some elements of it. For example, industrial training, they'll probably spend a bit more effort training students to be on the ready, because from my personal experience, we employed a few interns. They are not market ready. They're still students. So we are hoping companies in Malaysia, I've actually advocated some of our members to actually taking more interns to transition them from being a student and student mindset to the industry. Yeah, so this is what we have been doing on a personal. And
I would like to respond on the talent development, because I involved and much agreed with Mr. Chong and Dato Sri Ganesh on the how industry need to understand, because basically in my company, most partners are from, like me, I studied in Germany, so maybe a little bit from Germany and Japan, my partners. So what I learned from Germany, for as an example, right? For example, in Malaysia, you studied for maths or English from standard 1 until to form 5, right? At the end, after you have your SPM level, what you can do with your SPM? Nothing. You can just work maybe for 7E, right? But in Germany, how they spot the talent is started from 10 years old. From 10 years old, they already designed the module that whether after 10 years old, whether you want to go for the technical or for the theoretical. But in Malaysia, we are so much on the memorizing, on the learning study, right? After SPM, nothing we can do. But in Germany, we can say after like SPM or O level, they can decide to be a professional. In university, I studied in Frankfurt, Business School and Management, focusing on the IT and blockchain. But in terms of robotics, in Germany, they are very common, where universities, they have a 1 year or 2 years learning by working. Means that for 2 years, they are learning in the factory. Like Dr. Sri Ganesh mentioned just now, the involvement on the industry is very important. And one more thing, what I learned from Germany, the designs of the talents is started from the young child. Because of that, myself, we have our own movement we call as a Next Gen Makers Academy, where we teach young kids from 7 years old to learn about robotics. And we have one boy, just 11 years old, but already managed to create their own robot and won in international level. And we create our own ecosystem. Because why? Anything on robotics, for example, for kids, right? We rely to use the toys that we imported from USA, very expensive. I don't want to mention the name, but of course you guys know, right? The toys, right? But we do what we did. We create our own toys that can be built in for robotics. It's local made. All the mold, the IP, the trademark, from Malaysia. So we create that, and we create the ecosystem. Basically, when it comes to the robotics for kids or anything on the tournament of robotics, Olympic robotics, right? We will tend to refer to Singapore, to US. Why don't we need some things on the younger generation? So I just more representing actually younger generation, the kids in the school. My son, 8 years old, already know how to do some coding as well, because we need to understand that. So that we need to promote more. But sadly, what we can say that basically schools, especially in MRSM or any technical school, when teachers want to bring this kind of a module for robotics, they are just doing for personal initiative, not by officially by government. The model is not official actually. It's an initiative by the teachers. So hopefully we can change this thing on the talent development from the kids. 7 years old, for example, like we are doing right now.
So I do see some coherency, in terms of the idea of one of the 3 panelists here. I think we have to go down to make it more applied kind of learning for this talent, whether they are from the let's call it skill labor, and get them to kind of moving up the so-called their kind of technical knowledge, and perhaps if they know how to, I think for example those technicians and mechanics that actually do the maintenance of the machine, they should know how to actually to do the programming of the machines, and allow them to be able to say, maybe I know how to design machine better because I know how a particular machine works or fail, right? And I like the point of view in terms of those who actually learn about engineering design, and also engineering knowledge, and some even the older guys that are already a manager and also a leader of the team. They can go down and try to understand in terms of how do we apply, maybe the programming knowledge that they have to, kind of program, all this machine. And in fact, I think, the toys that you mentioned, Effendi, probably not only for kids. I think even the big adults like us should be also playing
Yeah.
that part. We used to play this Lego, and I think in the younger days,
Yeah.
I used to watch this.
You already mentioned, right?
the-
You already
the
mentioned about
giant
Lego,
robot,
right? At the end, people talk about
series.
Lego, but we have
Yeah,
Malaysian
correct.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
same, better than Lego
and,
actually.
another point I'm trying to make, I think there's a lot open, platform, open source learning for even for robots these days. And you're right, these robots, the parts can be 3D printed, right? You can actually, take the design and
Yep.
3D print them.
Yep.
And all you need basically, you can, all the hardware, like for example, the controllers, you get the Raspberry Pi, the Arduino, and many different, kind of a, open source,
If I can add a point, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is my personal opinion, okay? Lego is one example of being someone consuming technology.
Yeah.
If we want to go towards the innovators path or developers path, we must avoid consumers technology path. We must go to the basic architectures itself,
Yeah.
right? On robotics. It
Yeah.
all exists many years back, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand the architecture and we have to build from there. We have to go from the core. If we become consumers, just plug and play on something, we're not going to learn
Yes.
anything. We're going to be product centric. So
Agreed.
this is why our good friend
Agreed.
he was mentioning that the local guys are coming out with their own plug and play and also innovation architecture. Well, that is fine because they're developing on their own, right? And children learn how to program and build on their own. But sorry to say that brand that you mentioned earlier, it's very much plug and play. Very much they have like a 10-year strategy plan which you're going to bring towards their
Yes.
product ambassador.
Yes.
Right, by you paying their money. I mean, that's my personal
I
opinion.
totally agree to that. I think we need to get more people to develop from scratch. I mean,
Yes.
the basic component, the engine, yeah, I mean, you can use what's existed, right? But how do you put all that together and and create your own base a platform, right, for robot, and on
And then
one hand you can learn.
moderator,
Yeah.
Mr. Rozami, I think what Datuk Sri guys mentioned about the IIoT is very important. People very familiar with consumer IoT, but when it comes to IIoT, it's a real practical for the industry, right? We need to have more awareness on the IIoT. That's a core actually for IR, right? But
So,
people not so much knowing about for IIoT rather than consumer IoT, Yeah.
So we talk about these challenges now in terms of how we build the talent and to drive the so-called Malaysia to be the ASEAN a leader for automation robotic. Let's plug in another challenge, which is the MCO and also this pandemic, right? So because to train and also to carry all this work, you need to be physically there, right? Build your robots and whatnot. But how do we address these challenges that you cannot be in the same location with too many people and have to work remotely, and how does this affect the so-called the job situation? Could robotic could be the solution of the pandemic, or the pandemic is creating a more opportunity for robot, like we see the earlier session by that Dr. Yor was talking about. There are challenges and also create more opportunities. So maybe I'll let you hear the view and let's give Effendi the floor first in terms of what does he think about it, right?
All right. Sorry, just now because of lagging from my side.
So why we say that with the pandemic and the MCO restriction that we have right now, what are the challenges and how do we as the industry or maybe as the the different association
okay. I like and love to see from the positive perspective. We can say that blessing in disguise. Blessing in terms, because why? When it comes to this kind of a COVID, I'm not say that I'm okay with the COVID. Right? Of course, we scare. We need to take care of our health. But for the people like me, where I use already, for example, Skype, I use more than 10 years. For me, it's a common because I travel a lot to more than 20 countries doing some research. So for me, when it comes COVID, actually it's a blessing for technology people like me that people now pushing more into the tech, for example, right? And one more thing, in terms of what happened after during this COVID, we as a technologist, we can showcase our solution to the people. It's not say that we we like this kind of COVID, but we can say that people don't have choice, need to adopt that this kind of a technology. Example, our communication. In terms of research on the robotics, people always think about robotics on the humanoid, right? But like me, now I have more power or more opportunities to tell to the agencies. When it comes to the robot, it's not just a robot that with a human physical, like robot data management, like us, my company actually one of the system integrated that we're doing something on the robot data management, how we can create the script robot, right? Because of the COVID, a lot of agencies, a lot of government or companies that want to this kind of movement. Then again, on the awareness as well, a lot of invitation worldwide. Now for me, because of I want to share that because of the COVID, because we cannot go outside more, outside Malaysia. So basically the event, for example, international event, so we can showcase that we are the producer nation from Malaysia, Asian, that we also have the same solution that other countries, development countries can do. For example, in the blockchain, for example, right? Because a very new tech, we consider a new tech. So basically, nobody can claim they are the best. Nobody can claim they are the number one. As long you have the programmers, you have technical people who understand, like Datuk Ganesh mentioned just now, the core, the architecture, you understand, you can do some solution. You are in Malaysia, but you can do solution for country in Switzerland. You can do solution in country like Singapore. So I think for me, I don't have any negative input on this challenge, but pandemic can be a blessing for technologies for us to showcase our skills and our capability to the world.
Okay, thank you. So maybe Datuk Sri, you want to comment on that?
Okay, I would say I would agree with FND. Of course, it's an opportunity, but I would also say that despite the hours and hours of screening time and seminars that we have to see our screen for hours, this pandemic has actually given us the avenue to explore ways of getting things going as it is, right? Or exploring various innovation. Dulu, we always stuck in R&D only. The R&D will be always R&D, right? We'll never bring into implementation. But when we're forced to do something, then the R&D will become realization, right? It will become realization in your mind, and reality is that's how we are using it right now. See, in terms of education, I would say that nothing actually, I would say a big disruption can take place because, for instance, technologies, if you want to have an IoT training to be done, now the best time is that for us to have an IoT training kit. This technology in teaching technology, right? For instance, an IoT, you can have an IoT training kit sent to the participants' home, right? And this IoT training kit practicals can be done via online. And if it's the IoT training kit can be connected to a Wi-Fi, and that Wi-Fi connection can give you input of the attempts taken to assemble the training kit and so forth. All right. This is a simple architecture that we have done. We have even planned out and implemented drone training during this pandemic. We cannot fly drone, but drone maintenance and repair can be done. All right. So how that's to be done is we send a basic DIY training kit on drone to a participant's home. They assemble according to the online instruction. Then they put in their parameters, and once it sets the parameters, it gives the input to the trainer on a dashboard whether they have assembled properly and so forth. All right. So this has actually pushed to a next level where we can. Education has become borderless. We can reach as many people as we can, and with probably with a feasible cost. So this has opened up avenues when it comes to education. I think in terms of a lot of innovation out there, you can see DF automation. They were actually given opportunity to showcase their, if I'm not mistaken, their UV system, or using robots to actually use it in the hospitals and so forth. I'm sure that our friend Mr. Chong, he also have different innovation to be showcased during that time. Maybe they have not appreciated the UU robot then, but now probably they can appreciate it better because that can be a best innovation to showcase during this pandemic. So that is my opinion, sir.
Yep.
Right.
In fact, one of the positive, well, like what Effendi said, the positive part of it is earlier the Dr. Yong and Dr. Hanafi were talking about foreign labor, or rather robots replacing human labor. Now we see that, you know, factories have got problem looking for labor. So over the last few months, we do have many inquiries talking about industrial robots, or asking for industrial robots, how it can be used to replace the worker that has been sent home, or has gone home, or got sick. So I think the adoption of technology has suddenly sped up. So it's the new norm is people who doesn't even use a smartphone are now looking for a smartphone to buy so that they can watch even this event on the smartphone. I mean, think about it. 5 years ago, people say, "Oh, I need a TV, I need a computer, not a phone." Yeah, so I think, yeah, there are a lot of positive energy for technologies in this pandemic. Yeah, looking ahead, what we can do. The latest example is China. The recent flooding in Henan. You know, big tech. What do you call that? Committed to, I think, 1 billion renminbi fund, but more importantly, all the applications they put in the market has helped save life. I think that is a very important part of technological use.
Okay. So I'd like to stay with the, Chong Soon for a little bit. So you mentioned earlier in terms of, how to move this agenda forward. We need to get more activity in building applications. So, it could be by robots that's already, the base robots already available from elsewhere, either, from China or from other areas. But, this again, do we, do not want to reinvent the new thing, or, or do we?
I think one of the older gentlemen, the same age as Dr. Mahathir, actually mentioned once, we should look at RCI, meaning research, copy, and innovate. Yeah, what Dato Sri mentioned earlier applies, but if we don't have the basic knowledge. I'll give you an example. I met a university lecturer. I do represent a China company in robotic arm to use in the academia as a teaching tool. That costs about 7,000 ringgit. And that lecturer said, you know what, I can build a robot at just 200 ringgit. Just mahal. So what he's a lecturer, a professor. He doesn't see that building a robot hardware is easy. Anyone can build it. But it's the software inside. For example, this tool, you can use 20 programming languages to run it. Now, these people thought through. Now, for Malaysians, a lot of us were saying that, yeah, don't look at cheap stuff. But market economy drives innovation. If you don't have the cheap stuff, for example, drones. Can a Malaysian company tell me that I'm building drone based on Malaysian components? If they can say that, I think, yes, we are there. If they say, oh, I still buy from Hex, I still buy from China, I buy from wherever, to get the right components, be it radio frequency, rather the transmitters, or the easiest part, even if the propeller, you can 3D print it. But you might be using a China-made 3D printer to print. So the mindset of Malaysians, I think, need to change. You need to have good basic knowledge. That starts from school. You don't go around saying that, oh, I want to invent something and think that invention is so easy. No, it's through hours and hours of hard work, like Effendi can share with you. 10 years old, because of their interest, by the time they're 15 years old, they've read so many articles on whatever they're interested in. What do? We watch cartoon, we talk, we talk whatever. Politics is a major thing now. Everybody do, but I mean in Malaysia. But you see, aside from that, when you talk about education, I think also it's a systemic issue here, where the education system here is very much based on the old British system where I was in as well, where people study, memorize to get a good grade. But they don't look further than, hey, what I'm studying now is for me to apply it in my job. You ask any graduates, probably 10% of them think so, but the 90% of them still student mode. I mean, that's from the data from the interns that I had over the last couple of years. So
Thank you.
That's my thinking. And I think there's a question from someone who said, how can we stop this mindset of buying cheap from China? I think if we can rephrase the question, when can we do that, would be more relevant.
Yeah.
The when is when we are ready.
True.
Now we are ready with lots of talk, but we are not ready with the right kind of knowledge. Effendi might tell me it's not true, but if you look at the Malaysian landscape, a few successful companies, every government agency talks about them. How about the tens of thousands of startups who's trying? The agency ignore. I mean, so I hope that Dr. Sri's association, my association, and I look forward to working with both of you, Effendi, that as a voice to those startups, to those intellectuals who want to do something, let us share with the government that some of the funding should go there rather than to the few companies who have already made it, pump more money, make it bigger. Yes, it's a huge Malaysian company. Then what?
So just hang on to that question. I think on that part. There's another question talking about how do we foster more of a being the innovators instead of adopters and also just consumers, right? So maybe Effendi, because you touched about creating awareness and going to from awareness to affordable acceptance and adoption. So what do you have in mind in terms of at the grassroots level, what can be done, right? In terms of how do we move everybody to become the developer, the so-called the technology building solutions. So how do we do that? Right? Being in mind that funding from the government are not something that everybody should be thinking about. I should get that
of course.
funding. So,
this is a very good question that almost everybody wants to know about this solution. And of course, we also have one participant in this event, Yuzarin, also asked in the chat, how about we can help people rather than ecosystem of M40 or T20 because they afford to pay, right? So because of that, what we are doing right now, like I mentioned just now, when we're creating the ecosystem, please focus that the solution that can be used by everybody, including people outside of the M20 or T20. I thought you guys mentioned that about the plug-in issues, right? Of course, when talk about Lego, for example, right? Mass usage by everybody in the world, but the price is very expensive. So what we are doing when we have our own our system, when we create the module, we create the toys. Of course, we must ensure the pricing means that everyone can have an affordable. Public, we don't have no choice. If the school cannot offer, you need to have another alternative by joining any community ecosystem like we are doing right now, where we went to villages, we went to village. We go to the community area where that like fat house area, village area, city people mostly they have affordable in terms of money to give for the extra money to pay for the fees to learn robotics, for example. Right? Yes, of course. So what we do, yes, more solution, more awareness, and we from the industry need to contribute. When we talk about this awareness, it's not anymore about money. And if I want to make money, I will charge to the industry people from overseas, from our investors, to the real solution. But when it comes to the community, something like CSR, it's not solution that need to made or from the public, but us, people in the industry need to contribute. So it depends on you guys. Some people love to donate for charity, for religious things. But for me, I'm focusing on the education, on the tech. I'm more on the preaching on the tech. So that's that we are doing. So when it comes to this thing, I would like to say that local community need to be work together. I would like also to work with Datuk Sri Ganesh, and I'm with Mr. Yong on this matter. So because of that, what we do in MIFA, we identified the young generation startup. For example, Mr. Noor Azmi, right? Like Mr. Yong mentioned just now about the research from universities, right? The problem with the university in Malaysia, but compared to other countries, I went to South Korea as well, to China, to Shenzhen. In fact, I'm now handling some investment from China. Although people said our country is in the problem now because of COVID, because of political issues, but for me, they still believe Malaysia as a hub of the tech because our infra is complete, people educated. We are the hub of a lot of initiative from previous government. So I still can manage some investment, also just a small scale. To what we do, we identify a lot of young talents. University also need to understand that. Please show to me where is the PhD startups that can be another startup. Do we have any research PhD from their research can be startup? Can we show that? Do you have any data on that? Right. So don't just put all the research in the cupboard or in the office of the universities, right? At the end, people cannot understand. So the role of us as industry people, we want to go for more to universities also to bring. So what we do, a lot of awareness, we bring, like for example, I'm doing my one academy for kids robotics. We use facility in the university. So by that, I bring all the parents, the kids, to come to universities, and we the problem is not about the tools, the hardware, but the problem, like Dr. Sigas mentioned, is about the manpower, about the talent, who can teach. The trainer of the trainers is the problem now. We don't have, we have more engineers, we have many engineers, we can say that people in robotics, technical people, but we don't have people who can teach robotics. It's quite difficult to find. So what we create the modules.
There are a lot more of those kind of who can teach, but they don't know they can teach. I think.
So what we do? Yeah, we create all these engineers, the young engineers.
Those guys, right? So good, very good point. So maybe one more question that coming from the so-called listeners and also viewers here. So here we've been invited here, in this session on Ignite 2021 by DRZ Iskandar. So what do you have in mind? Maybe just a simple opinion. How do we work together with DRZ Iskandar, for example, to build this ecosystem? So maybe one either each from the panel. So Dato' Sri, you want to start that?
You see, when we have the right ecosystem, I think DRZ Iskandar has set the right ecosystem. Now they have the first drone flying test site there, and then they have good areas where they can accommodate various data centers and so forth. I personally have been there, and we have engagement with DRZ. So I could say that they have ample of space, ample of areas to showcase their technologies and so forth. Only thing they are being in Johor. But it's an advantage. Why I'm saying that is they are next to Singapore, right? So you can make the Singaporeans as a consumer, they can consume our technology, or they can use our talents there to innovate or to solve their problems and so forth on the SMEs. I also like to amplify or echo a friend here who have actually mentioned about in the ecosystem, right? This has something to do with DRZ as well, whereby Mr. Padma from the My Ayutha Association have mentioned that a lot of local government MNC, they must allow local developers to innovate rather than just import a certain technology and so forth, and try to adapt it here. Right, which I strongly agree with this point. These government agencies, what they are fancy about is that innovation from abroad, because it gives them some sense of assurance. But whether it is suitable for our ecosystem, that should be questioned. Number two, are we ignoring the local talents? Why we need to reinvent the wheel when they can fix most of the SME solution issues here? Right, we have many fantastic companies out here who can direct to the point solve a lot of issues. For instance, in terms of IoT, we need to understand the problem statement, and the technology will come as when we understand the statement itself. Right. So when we find solution, technology in place, technology is just one of the components in this space. But how are we going to create the pipeline towards solving it? You need the local SMEs understanding, or local companies understanding in serving these people. So do not get, I would say, excited about international solutions out there which they put a price tag for you and you just have a brand. A lot of local companies here are doing great job. We should feature global talent. This is what exactly DRZ is doing, right? They are giving opportunity to local players to showcase their technology, and they are working along. They're trying to create an ecosystem where if there's a company come from overseas, they try to make them work together with the local players and create a synergy in creating solutions and creating the right ecosystem for our local partners here and the SMEs here.
Okay,
that's my point of view. Yeah.
So let's hear it from Chun Seong, Kyung-Sun. Your view.
I have started talking to one of the Johor-born company, Imagine AI. I mean, they're into video analytics. How I see DRZ developing is to bring in enough talents, whether located physically there or even virtually. So once you have enough pool of resources and the right ecosystem, and it can be from ASEAN as well, then you can call on all those resources to develop certain area of a product or a service that you're looking at. So I think, as Datuk Sri was mentioning, it's a good start. I think it will continue to fly. That's why when we set this association up, we say robotics. To us, robotics also means UAV. And when I was invited to speak by the Shanghai government on the Malaysian state of drone system in Malaysia, I can see that, although they are setting up a UAV base in Shanghai, they are not taking businesses away from Shenzhen. Shenzhen is still there, but Shenzhen doesn't have some of the facilities that Shanghai has. And in fact, some of the drones have to be tested, let's say in Guangzhou or in Shanghai. Now, in Malaysian context, it's the same thing. Whatever is built in Selangor can always be used or tested in the JB, Johor, and vice versa. So I see probably in the near future, a whole collaborative network of Malaysian states working very closely together. And you are the first to come up with a really, really good plan. Yeah, for that, I congratulate you as well.
Like me, yeah, for me, thank you to Ignite, Iskandar Next. Please organize more this kind of activities. Yeah. That's it. Please invite me more. and I'm so honored to be part of ecosystem and can speak with Mr. Yong, Dr. Suganes. But anything on the 4 types that I think we need to do, focusing on 4 types of things. First, on anything on the solutions, solution. Anything on education, training. We need to enhance more on the robotic focus. And third is on the R&D. R&D not just come from government, right? We don't wait for the government. They have a lot of problems to settle right now. But we can rely on ecosystem, community. For example, like me, we work in one university. They have 140 international students where they have engineering, mechatronic in this university. I don't want to mention this name, but you find if you meet me. They have 140 universities. Means that they have this kind of a community, ecosystem, very big ecosystem. Just work with them and start to do some. If we have solution, tell them, maybe they can bring to overseas. And last but not least, event tech is very important. We have something like vacuum for almost 2 years. And Alhamdulillah, and we are so excited. Ignite, Iskandar Next organized this such a wonderful event. After, I think, 2 years, we don't have this kind of type of event. I mean, local, organized by local company, right? So that's all about my suggestions with Ignite and Next Iskandar Next. Thank you to the organizer.
Thank you, and very good, comment from all 3 panels. So we given extended live until about 12:10. So we got about 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes left. So maybe 1 minute each for each of the panelists to talk about what can each of your organization do in part of this ecosystem building. So here's your time to kind of talk about your organization, what you can do, and be part of this building the ASEAN robotic ecosystem with the DRZ kind of the anchor. So who wants to go first? Maybe Effendi?
Like me, just I mentioned just now, because we are the youngest, just 2 years, the youngest. We need more guidance because why? Every community, every ecosystem, every association, they have their own ecosystem, right? Yes. So we can say that collaboration plus it's not competition, but in the sense of we need to provide more to the people by everyone have their own each ecosystem. So when we come together, let's do together, because anything on the tech, actually on the robotics, right? Robotics including a lot of multidisciplinary knowledge in one robotic tech, right? So like me, sometimes our members in MyFA, they also are members in MyOTA. We know about that, and it's okay. It's very good, and we cannot. I mean, to have more collaboration, but acting locally. Think locally but acting globally, something like that. So like me, we need to showcase to the people that when it comes to robotics standard framework, we have our own standards on robotic framework, maybe ASEAN level, in Malaysian level. So we need to create this kind of council, right? Maybe have, I don't know, maybe already have, but we need to have this kind of a council that focus on ASEAN, something like ASEAN School of Thought in the robotics framework and ecosystem. So hopefully we can create this kind of a movement. ASEAN level at least.
Thank you, Effendi.
That's very
Well,
good.
To be a very good reference to the world.
Yeah, let's hear.
Sorry, it's so much. It's quite idealistic, right? Talking about this, yeah.
Chung-Sun,
if I may, one of our ambition is to bring in Malaysian talents from all over the world, Malaysians who are living abroad. And we have a very good example. I have a Malaysian doctor living in the UK for 20 years. One of the first things he does, well, on a personal level as well as through the association, is to bring in a collaborative robot for keyhole surgery. If you think about it, keyhole surgery, a surgical tool, now a doctor needs an assistant to do it. This one would require just the doctor to operate it. So this is one of the things that we are doing. We hope to bring in, or rather have more Malaysians who live abroad to join us. And then we are an ecosystem by itself who can then work closely with my IOTA. I don't know what this is. I don't think there's an A there, right? And as well as MIFA. So I think Effendi got it right. You know, we are an ecosystem. There might be some overlap, but you know, having so many different associations coming together to form a panel, it would be very, very powerful for Malaysia.
Yeah.
And Dato',
Okay, without further ado, I think we have been dragging additional 8 minutes. I'll keep it very fast. Our two gentlemen earlier, Mr. Effendi and Chung, have said it all. They have covered everything in terms of talent. But I will, from Malaysian IoT Association, we are one of the largest ecosystem members, whereby we cover many sectors. But what we really learn from them with our members in exchange is that a lot of local talent requirements are there in terms of becoming an innovator rather than become a technology consumer. Let's work on that part. I am working on the same part as well. My organization, not one, many involved in talent development. What exactly we do is that we work together with industry to build talents. Let it be school leaver or graduates and so forth. We understand that these talents are required in the industry. Without talents, you cannot move much. The technology's key driving factor will be talents. Instead of importing talent from overseas, we should start investing on our local talent. They will be there, but this has to be done based on the cooperation with the industry association and to other, I mean, of course, with the other two associations are here. I think they're doing great job as well. Being in this forum, I think talent development should be responsible of all in driving this technology moving forward. I believe next year when we have the same, if it's an annual event, when we're talking here, we should have an indicator how many local talents that we actually have developed from this association and the success stories to be shared as well. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Thank you for summing up, from each of your own organization and how you can work together. And I like the point of view that we all can collaborate, between the three organizations and all the different industry partners, build local talent, build local technology, bring also talent from overseas that could they could be where they are, but they can support the activity here in Malaysia. I think these are excellent way forward, and we just need to to see how we can formalize the collaborative framework to work together with DRZ Iskandar. So with that, I thank everyone for listening. I'd like to thank the three outstanding and excellent panelists, Chung Sun, Dr. Sri, and also Effendi, for your input, for your views. And I like also like to thank to DRZ Iskandar for inviting us to be part of this panel, for Ignite 2021. So thank you very much, and back to you, Alif.